Okay, so I'm British, or maybe I should say English, because we've always had quite a stiff upper lip when it comes to emotional stuff. And we tend to get a bit uncomfortable with each other if people start welling up and showing emotion. I've noticed that I actually apologise far too often if I well up with tears or seem to be getting upset. And I hear other people apologising too if they start to, weep a little bit about something that's happened. And I wanted to share with you two of my favourite ways that I think we use as a way of communicating with each other without actually showing the real emotion that's involved. Here they are. You would not believe what I've just heard. My ex-husband is taking my children on holiday to Syria. Now, you wouldn't believe that, would you? Well, the thing is, apparently he's got this cheap package deal last minute. Oh, how surprising. And he's going to take my kids and his new girlfriend, who is, guess what? 16! 16! And to make it even better, she's pregnant with his baby. Oh, could you believe it? You couldn't make this up, could you? And guess what? I only found out from the kids. He wasn't even going to tell me. I've had to cancel the spa day I planned with my best friend for my birthday. Oh my word, it's just like a soap opera, isn't it? Gosh, yes, a bit of a thing's happened, actually. We were planning that marvellous trip of a lifetime, Reggie and I, for our wedding anniversary. Well, started out brilliantly, gorgeous yacht, totally five-star treatment. We sailed absolutely miles from land, hadn't seen another soul for over a week, just sunbathing and enjoying the idyllic weather. And all of a sudden we were targeted by pirates who boarded the ship with machine guns and machetes. Got to say, was a bit scary. They tied me up, threw me down in the hold, blindfold and gagged. Pitch dark, couldn't see a thing. I could just hear them up above me, ransacking the ship and stealing all our valuables. To be honest, I had no idea whether my dear hubby was alive or dead, because I was down there for 3 days, it turns out, without food or water. When we were eventually rescued, I was pretty relieved to find he was still alive. But, hey-ho, life goes on. Yes, thankfully, body and soul are still together, and I think maybe we'll just go to Mallorca next year. And maybe the reason we feel like we have to tell our story like this is because if we don't, we might end up sounding like one of these two. Honestly, sorry I'm late. Bloody hell. Oh, I know you wanted to tell me about your cancer treatment, but I've just had the most awful morning, and it's, of course, all down to bloody hubby, isn't it? I mean, every night when he comes in, I say, just hang your keys on the hook by the door. But does he do it? Of course he doesn't do it, because he's a bloody man, isn't he? And men are stupid. So he can't find his keys, and he's ransacking the house, and the kids are getting stressed because they're late for school, and the dog's getting stressed, and I trip over it on the way to get out the house. And then I'm so stressed, I reverse the car out of the drive into the neighbour's car and dent his bumper a bit. And of course he's a total git about it because he doesn't even understand what it's like to have stress like this. Sorry, did you actually say something? Well, I know we've only just met, but I think the thing you really need to know about me is that Fluffy, my precious adored basset hound, died 15 years ago, and I've just never been able to get over it. I mean, I still sleep with his ashes on my bedside table, and every night I talk to him about how much I miss him. We had such lovely walks in the countryside, and he was the love of my life. I just think that Since Fluffy died, I've not been able to let anybody else into my heart.
You
Other dogs
know, I
just,
used to
they
have
just
a dog.
let me down.
I love to have that dog
It's just
around.
such a depressing thing to
But now
have
that she is gone,
terrible
I ain't
grief
gonna
inside
rush off to no
me.
pound.
Never goes away because
It's great to have a dog.
so
That's what
much.
all dog owners say.
Nobody
But
understands.
I like having some
how I
freedom.
feel about
You
it.
know that
Can't
leash
seem to
it
get
goes
out of
both
this
ways. I want
misery
me
and
a
move on with my life
part-time
because I
dog.
miss him so much.
I bet you know somebody like one of those last two characters, and the honest truth is that however much we might want to sympathise with the pain that they've been experiencing and the difficulties in their life, eventually being around them becomes so draining, so exhausting, that we find ourselves like ducking behind supermarket shelves and kind of avoiding them because we just can't take any more of their kind of negative energy. It's like having the life sucked out of you or being battered like an emotional punch bag being around them. And we know this, we know that dealing with emotion that way will make us unattractive people. So our only other choice seems to be denial. I know I'm not the only person who spent most of my lifetime trying to find a way of kind of toughening up so that I wasn't a nuisance to other people with uncomfortable feelings. A lot of the time my armour, I think, was so thick I was kind of proud of the fact that I could motor on through and keep going, and I didn't even really think there was anything the matter with me. I was totally oblivious. And there were other times when I was looking around thinking, I cannot believe that nobody seems to be able to see the pain, the distress, the confusion that is bubbling away in me here and just underneath the surface. And I was absolutely astounded that nobody seemed to notice. But one thing I do believe is that toughening up actually is not the answer. And I also don't believe that stuff about some people are just made a hell of a load more sensitive than other people. It's like they're cross to bear in life, or they're like the special chosen few who get to do the feeling for the rest of humanity. I mean, there are clubs you can join for being like an extra specially sensitive person, and there are books that are written where you can kind of like engage in that whole idea of being one of the precious chosen few who get to do the feeling. Personally, I don't buy that. I think that yes, some people do have their feelings nearer to the surface. They can't hide them, they're less detached from them. It's like, you know, they can't escape them. Other people, I think, for reasons that actually deserve our compassion and our respect, have had to uncouple, you know, their feelings from their brain in a deeper, more permanent way from much earlier in life as a survival tactic. And it doesn't mean they don't feel, it just means that it's harder to get back in touch and probably much more threatening because we don't know what might be lurking there under the surface. But I think all of us have this tender underbelly that gets hurt, that gets winded by life, that we're all trying to protect one way or another. One thing I do know, though, is that when we shut down and try to detach from pain, from hurt, from tears, from showing sadness, when we try not to let ourselves feel those things, we also stop experiencing, to pretty much the same degree, the happiness, the pleasure, the ecstasy, the sheer enjoyment of life as well. It's like we start humming along on a kind of level where we just kind of feel life is grey and there isn't much pleasure there to be had either. About this? Well, the first thing I would say is I'm not suggesting for 1 second that we all kind of go around navel gazing going, oh, I must get in touch with my deepest pain, my agony, you know, and unlock it all, because frankly detaching from our feelings is a coping strategy and it works. It's kept us alive, us good stiff upper lipped Brits, for all these centuries. It's what's made us great. It's how we built the empire. But the truth is, if we start unpacking our pain all at once, it's likely to explode in our faces and we are likely to shatter. So that's not the way to go. Deciding to get back in touch with our feelings is something that we want to do gently, and we need to put in some preparation, just like you would prepare for like a successful holiday or getting a promotion at work, or how you were going to like lay the foundations for a good relationship that's going to last many years into the future. Deciding to get back in touch with our emotions and learn to handle them differently is something that we really need to give our attention to and plan for. Here's a little something you might want to try, and it is an exploration into the difference between thoughts and feelings. And I'll tell you why we're doing it. And it's because in my experience, the first thing that comes into our heads when we get upset or ruffled in some way is actually thoughts. Our brain kicks into gear. And it is a truth, I think, that we're not going to be able to heal our feelings or change our feelings until we know what they actually are. So I'm going to share with you this little experiment, which doesn't take any time. It's just simply this, that next time something gets your goat, winds you up, you know, makes you feel sad or irritable or whatever it might be, or emotional in some way, just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And I bet what you will notice is the first thing that comes to you is thoughts. Let's take a real life example. My daughters are supposed to catch the school bus from the bottom of our lane at 8:20 in the morning. What they know in the back of their minds is that if I'm not working, I could in theory run them to school in the car, which would give them an extra quarter of an hour in bed. And therefore there are repeated times, despite my best efforts, when they're just not ready to leave at 8:15. And I end up kind of having to take them. And the emotion that comes up in me is quite overpowering. I am not in a good mood when that happens, let me tell you. So let's take that example. The first thing that comes up to me is all kinds of thoughts like, you know, this just isn't right. I can't believe it's happened again. It's just something I don't seem to be able to fix. I feel taken advantage of. I feel that they're taking the mickey, you know, like they just don't respect me and appreciate my time. Okay, these are all thoughts. Just let the tractor go by. These are my interpretations. These are the reasons that I've come up with for like how I'm feeling. These are my brain's attempts to make some sort of logical, rational sense of what is going on. But they are not connecting with what's going on from the neck down. Feelings actually exist down there below the neck. And I have to get in touch with those. So if I take a breath and I start allowing myself to tune into my feelings, there's a very physical sense, kind of like in my chest area. I can feel tightening. I can feel my breathing getting shallower. I can feel a kind of constriction around my rib cage. And if I sit with that feeling and just allow myself to ponder it for a minute, I realise that it feels like fear, kind of a bit panicky, which is a really interesting thought. You know, it's like, why am I getting fearful about my daughters abusing me in this way? Well, the honest truth is, if I sit with that for long enough, what comes to me is I feel out of control. I feel like as their mum, I'm not running the show, they are. And that makes me feel scared, actually, because I don't feel confident, like I'm in charge and I'm in control of my own life. It's not nice feeling out of control. So there's the first thing. Ooh, what a revelation. If I sit a bit longer, underneath that, deeper down in my belly, I begin to get a sense of like, oh, I kind of want to curl up in a ball. It's like I want to hide somewhere. I just like don't want to look at you right now. And the feeling that's coming up is something that I would call shame. Like, I know that some of you watching this are going to be those beautifully organised mothers that I just feel so condemned by, because your children always have freshly pressed uniform and their lunches are always made the night before and laid out on the sides, and you're always a quarter of an hour early for school. And I just feel like I can't match up. And this curling up feeling in my belly comes from that part of me that says everyone else is doing this better than me, and if they knew how bad I really am, they would totally not like or respect me. I am a failure and I can't bear the thought. These are feelings, and I tell you what, they're really uncomfortable. I don't like them. I now need to go and distract myself with a cup of tea and a Jaffa cake, but I have at least identified my feelings, my true feelings, and that is always the beginning of change. So, within reason, there's something that you can experiment with this week, and remember not to take too long getting stuck in those places. Always distract yourself. Go and watch a comedy, listen to some happy music, go and watch the dog leaping around to cheer yourself up. But this is a really helpful thing that's done a lot for me. So I hope you find it helpful. See you next week.